The next topic is going to be our initiative working on a 20-minute incident duration notification. And obviously we all understand that our end user safety and welfare while operating on the fire ground is of utmost importance. And we want to see across the county that 20-minute mark would provide us a checklist. So I'm going to kick this over to the fire chiefs in the room for you guys to talk a little bit about how we came upon this with LCWC.
So the initiative for the 20-minute notification is not everybody thinks of everything all the time. So if we can get some standard items from the dispatchers to ask us, first and foremost is to start the 20-minute clock on the dispatch as opposed to somebody having to ask for it. That is always helpful. So we worked with LCWC on this and came up with some things that we feel were important to be reminded of and asked about at the first, second, and subsequent 20-minute marks. Not to say this list can't ever change. It's something that we could, if somebody out there has something they want to add later that we think is worthy, that can happen too. But initially, this is the list that we came up with. Sorry.
Yeah, it's more about like a job aid, right? There's a lot of stuff going on for that person that's in the command car or the front seat of an engine or whatever environment we're operating in. So it's more about just prompting them. And you know, we tried different iterations of this, right? We've all tried the egg timer. We've all tried like setting a alarm on your cell phone. Some people ask for 10 minutes, 20 minutes from dispatch, from the time you arrive. There's all these different things. Everybody's kind of operating differently, so this is kind of just a way to clear the slate, get everybody on the same page, and then really for, not that the dispatchers don't have a ton of stuff going on already, but they're in a little more sterile environment where they can help us out in the field to make sure we're not missing anything. Things like, the first, should the utility be notified? If yes, or just a little job, a reminder for you to call them. Do you need additional resources? Do you want to continue on with your additional 20-minute marks, that kind of thing? All stuff that is pretty easy to slip your memory or lose track of time in that first little bit of an incident.
So I'll add to that this coming up with the 20-minute incident duration notification list. That's something that is a direct result of feedback requests from the fire chiefs greater group to the RAC. So just to keep that in mind, that that's ultimately RAC and LCWC. We're always trying to work to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the greater group, and that's where this specific policy comes out of. And with that, I think it's also a great example of the fact that these policies aren't being put in place just so that we have random policies. This is a perfect example of where some of the other policies were looking to lessen the workload at LCWC that the dispatcher has to do, notifying utility companies. That's all in an effort to allow things like this to happen. Allow them to take on some additional responsibility. So it's been a great process, working through this with LCWC. Conversation, feedback's been great, and I think we came up with a good policy here, and hopefully it works out. But like Dean said, there certainly will be room to analyze and make adjustments as we move forward and use it a couple times.
And I guess for everybody, so this will be across the board. First step is box alarms. 20-minute clock will be started for all box alarms in Lancaster County, correct?
I believe we were starting. Right.
And then we're going to add on as dispatchers get comfortable with this process of maybe looking at, the larger scale. If it's a full-blown hazmat, that it would be the 20-minute mark would also be incorporated in those types of complex instances, correct?
Correct. I think that this is a good starting point, and I think that we will always have for our experienced dispatchers kind of the discretion of knowing that there's other events where maybe this would be a useful thing to prompt the incident command if they need somebody notified.
Okay. Yep. Thanks.